The Entrepreneurial Journey Podcast. We're talking business and building a culture that's kick-ass. Where we make it happen, grab your seat, let's have a blast. At the Entrepreneurial Journey Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Entrepreneurial Journey Podcast. Today I have Jamie McBrearty with me. Hello, Jamie. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you, Rebecca. How's yourself?
Yeah, I'm splendid. Thank you. Really well. Yeah. So you're a mindset coach. All right. I
Yes.
suspect you're a mindset coach with a difference, though. All right. Can you tell everybody what kind of mindset you're out there coaching about?
So let me tell you. I do a number of different mindset approaches. One approach is around the theory of growth mindset that was established by Professor Carol Dweck. So for the past 12 to 15 years, I've been using growth mindset as a vehicle to look at improving educational attainment across Scotland, looking at improving business from a performance, culture, and leadership perspective, and from a sporting perspective, looking at how growth mindset can help from a sporting performance, coaching, club environment, and being a parent of a young athlete, an aspiring athlete. So a range of different ways. And with another hat on, I've been using the mindset approach that was taught and led by a wonderful Mr. Bob Proctor, who sadly passed away earlier this year. So using material that he shared with the world around how mindset is really everything in our life, and it gives us our ability to think, our ability to feel, our ability to act, and ability to change results if we choose to do so.
Yeah, love it, love it, love it. So one of the reasons I've got you on the podcast is because I did some Bob Proctor work in 2017, 2018. And it galvanized me to think big, okay, in a way that I had never ever thought before. I'd always been really ambitious, and I'd always been a goal setter and achieved those goals, and you know, I did a lot of what Bob Proctor talks about, but there was clearly a final missing piece that Bob's teaching sort of got me to where I really wanted to be. And it was that moment where he talked about the self-image. Okay. And you'll know it better than me. So can you just explain what his thinking and therefore your thinking is on that self-image piece? Because it's so important.
Well, I think you probably know just as well as anybody your self-image is your autopilot, and you cannot outperform your self-image. It is this image we have of ourselves inside of us, that only we know that true picture. And the work around, with Bob was actually the work on self-image that completely changed my life.
Really?
Because for many years, people would look at me thinking very confident, successful, and whether it's within school, in particular sports, whether it's to do with particular choices I made moving forward in life. But inside of me, I had that lack of self-worth, feeling inferior, lacking belief in particular situations, although I stepped forward with fear, but having that picture of me not being good enough. And that's who I really thought of, what I thought of myself. And the truth be told, that's still there, that still lives within me. But I have now got another image of myself that I now believe what people tell me. All the positive feedback I've ever had, I used to take that and throw it in the bin. But now I believe them because I feel I'm more worthy. I believe I'm good enough. I've got higher levels of self-respect, self-belief, self-love, self-forgiveness, and just that whole thing about leading myself in a particular way. Because if I lead myself the best I can lead myself, then I am doing everybody else a service.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny how that piece of the teaching was a thing that resonated with us both and created the change in us both. And I think, I don't know why it had been the missing piece for such a long time, because probably like you, I'd done tons of work, done loads of NLP work, done loads of stuff. But that bit had never quite been dealt with in the way that Bob's materials dealt with it. And it doesn't make you arrogant, does it?
No, and it shouldn't. And
No.
I love that debate I have with people around this word of arrogance. Essentially what arrogance is I think it's different for different people because there's different thresholds we have. I was speaking at a recent conference. We were talking about self-image and having that confidence to be able to step forward and really move towards our goals and have that faith that you can then express in a number of ways that people just pick up because you radiate that. And that's where I know within our culture in Scotland that people say, well, that's when probably people get a bit too much and brag or boast or become arrogant. And we had a wonderful debate around, well, what does that mean? It's how comfortable we are. Because I've worked across education for a number of decades now, and what I find really interesting within our curricular system, that one pillar of the curriculum for excellence is creating confident individuals. And truth be told is we can't cope with confident individuals. And we have got we can hear them before we see them kind of attitude, and you know we want our children to be confident, but don't be over the top.
Yes. It's so true. It's so true. We say we want this. And it's something when I'm talking to leaders and they're saying, I want to empower my teams, I want to delegate them, I want them to make decisions. And I'll say, great, I will train them to do that. And then you have to be prepared for the pushback, because they will, once they learn how to do that, they will start asking you difficult questions and they will start challenging you, which is a good thing, but you have to prepare yourself for that. And I think that's really interesting. You've identified that society as a whole, and by the way, I don't think it's just restricted to Scotland. I think there are many parts of the UK that just,
The world.
society, the world, yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting. But I was listening to a podcast in America, and I can't remember which part of America it was, but they were referring to a particular state. It's just the way we do it here, and we're saying all the same characteristics, and it seems to be now something that's present in many areas of the world, about not being able to express yourself freely without and that's where the whole fear of ridicule comes from. The fear
Yeah.
of what people think, and that's what our self-image comes from. We are
Yeah.
so concerned about what people think about us, and it's not our fault because we've been programmed and we've been conditioned to do that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is why. And I was working with a squad of aspiring athletes this afternoon, and we were having a chat about that. And we talked about decision making, and we created a pie chart of who has made our decisions up to the point. They're 17 and 18 now, and 75% of
Right.
decisions on that pie chart were made by parents. 5% were teachers, 5% were coaches, 5% were peers, and 5% were family, which left 5% of that pie chart of children feeling like they can make their own choices. So when we move forward in life, no wonder we are indecisive, because we haven't developed the skill set of making or being effective at decision making,
Yeah.
which again I find fascinating.
Yeah, yeah. So my Victorian parenting style has has enabled all of my children to make sure they make all of their own decisions. Because what do you want for tea? I don't know. You decide and you make it.
Yes.
Because I'm quite busy working. And yeah, that comes back to choices at school. All my kids have chosen their own subjects. Choose what you love. I don't care what it is, just as long as you enjoy it, choose it, do your best at it, and that's fine. But so many children at the same time, my youngest was just choosing her options at the end of S2. And they're like, oh, so-and-so's parents says they have to do this. I'm like, why? Why do they have to do this? They're not interested in that. So why do we still feel we have to control instead of guide? Why do you think that is? Ooh. Jamie, have we lost you? Hang on, Jamie. He is still there. Hang on, let me put my headphones back on. Have you lost me, Jamie? Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can now, but you disappeared.
Yes.
Where did you go?
Yeah, I don't know. I lost you halfway through. You were talking about the family.
Yeah. So why do you think it is that some parents still want to control rather than guide?
I think a lot of that comes from parents fearing the perception of others towards them. I work in performance sport, and there is a lot of insecure parents out there.
Okay.
And what I find from a very young age is they're absolutely open to children being challenged through sport in order for them to improve. But as soon as they're challenged and they can't cope with that, then the parents are then questioning, is it my parenting? What's happening to my child? I need to do something rather than just allowing the children just to learn, just to explore, just to experience that whole journey through a challenge. When the kids are performing, the parents are proudest punch, they're confident, they're walking up to other parents, you can see their body language. But as soon as a young person is not performing, it's rather embarrassing. The child might get it in the neck because how dare you embarrass me in front of other parents. And it's just adults, but it's about self-regulation. We understand that we want the best for our children, but going back to decision making, we need to allow our children to fail. We need to let our children to explore. We need to provide a safe environment for them to fail on purpose, because we all know through our experience as children, it shapes our life.
Yeah, it does.
And parents will not always be there to catch us when we fall. So society is different, and I fully appreciate how much pressure is on, especially when schools put pressure on terms of exam results, and if the language that's come from school, if you don't achieve now, that's it, you're going to ruin your life. And no,
So not true.
we need to change the goalposts. We need to really change what we do. Yes, absolutely. So there's a whole range of different pressures that come from a whole different ways, but I suppose some parents just parent the way they were parented, or the expectations they feel. So yeah, I think parents are under more pressure now than they've ever been.
Do you think we just all need to relax a little bit more?
I think so. I think relaxing is probably the wonderful jewels of wisdom, as James Allen said in his book As a Man Thinketh. That's being serene and calm. We are all products of our environment. So if we're coming from highly stressed, reactive, hostile environments, then that's how we're going to be as individuals. So if we're the average of the 5 people we spend most time with, we've got an understanding we can influence that environment, we can influence that culture. But sometimes we don't know what we don't know.
It's true.
So how do we do it in a way that's not patronising, it's not threatening, but it's in a way to say it's a way of really being more effective and empowering not just children but anybody to live the life they truly deserve.
Yeah, and that's the lovely thing about the philosophy, if you like, is that you can come to at any stage in life. It's never too late, and it's very simple, actually, isn't it? What I liked about Bob's work is the simplicity of it, and that anybody can grasp it and anybody can run with it. Now there are people who will criticize Bob's work, and that's fine. Once you put work out there, it's open to criticism. But I would challenge people to say, look, if you read and really understand what he talked about, then actually it's just a very good model to live your life by. And it does help you to focus and helps you to relax. So how are you using it in a business setting? Because I completely get it with kids and sport and things, but how do you put it across in a business setting?
It starts off with goals. What do you
Okay.
want to achieve? It starts off with taking something you're not satisfied with, or it could be ambitious business owners or entrepreneurs who really want to take things to another level. And it starts with, well, what do you want? What do you really want? If you had a magic wand and you were guaranteed that success, you had all the resources you had. What do you want? What does that look like? And park all limitations. And then you start to then reflect on, where do the limiting beliefs come from? Do you truly believe that? Have you got a good sound reason where your beliefs come from? And most people really struggle with goals. I was speaking in front of 150 business owners yesterday up in Aberdeen, at a Transform Your Business event with Business Gateway, and there was only about a third of people put their hands up when they said, "Do you have goals?"
All right.
And for
Okay.
those who had their hands up, I then asked, "Are your goals achievable?"
Uh-huh.
And most of them kept their hands up. So I said, "You've got the wrong goals."
Indeed, they have.
And then having that chat about, well, these paradigms, as Bob said, there's a multitude of habits about thinking and feeling and acting, have been from our programming and conditioning. We can then start to understand, well, what's holding us back, what's really holding us back, because of many literature and scientific research are saying we've got so much more potential. Then where do the limitations of our potential come from? And it's really reflecting on that. So from a business perspective, I said, what do you think you can achieve in business? Why do you think you can only achieve a particular? Why do you believe that other people are better than you? Why do you believe that you cannot achieve more? And it goes back to that self-image, feeling inferior. But once we grasp goals from a really sound vision of where you want to go and really get emotionally involved in this, then we can start to move forward and start thinking about, what does that plan look like? No, it's not about the how, but feeling each day to take inspired action, really having that burning desire every day. I'm also a member at BNI up here in Dundee, and my 60 seconds this morning, I just thought about this morning, I just love putting on a brand new pair of socks. It sets me up for the day. And I thought, this is so good. And it got me thinking, it's the same way I feel when I get up each day knowing that I'm working towards my goals.
Yeah.
I'm on point. I've got direction. Um, some days might feel indifferent or slightly better than others, but knowing where you're going in life and in business gives you that direction and
It does.
motivation and persistence, all of that. And it all comes back to goals. You need to know where you are going and you need to know where you are. And the one thing that gets you there is not just by deciding, you need to make a committed decision. You say, that's it. I'm going for it. And you just go forward with pace and with faith. And that's where your self-image then kicks in. Do you believe you're worth it? Do you believe you're good enough? And then going a bit deeper with Bob's work in terms of frequencies and vibrations, and really getting onto that same level of thinking, not just about from that goal achieved, but who are you? Who do you feel you want to become? And can you live from that end point right now? So from a psychological perspective, from a spiritual perspective, from a physical perspective, from an intellectual perspective, the more you study this, the more you do start to develop that faith. And going back to that word calm, and you're at ease, you are in the best creative place you are to really start to step forward in each stage, just with that faith that everything's going to work out just the way it's meant to.
It does. And when I work with businesses, I encourage them to create a 10-year vision, because it's so far ahead in the future that there's no way they know whether they're going to get there. And it's so far ahead in the future that they have to make it up. And I'll say to them, if you're going to make it up, make it good. And if you're going to make it up, make it really, really big, and make it so it's a little bit scary. And if it's a little bit scary, then it's just about big enough and you're on the right track. And sometimes I've had clients going, this is hurting my head because it's not in a spreadsheet. I've said, it's okay. It's part of the process. Go with the flow. And they do get there, and it gets them really excited. And that is part of that emotional engagement. Now let's talk about the spirituality, and I'm going to give it the title of woo woo, because I love a bit of woo woo. Okay. And energy, and universal energy, because I know Bob talks about that a huge amount. What's your take on all of that woo woo stuff? I'm really keen to hear it, Jamie.
My take on all that woo-woo stuff is that everything's connected. Whether you talk it woo-woo stuff, whether you call it spirituality, whether you call it energy, whether you from a scientific perspective or from a theological perspective, it's all the same thing. We
Yeah.
we never argue that spring will come after winter. We never argue that summer follows spring, etc., etc. We never argue that the sun sets on one side and goes that it just happens. We never argue that we know when we cut our hand, it will heal itself. There's some greater power that we have got no way of articulating it. It just happens. But when it comes to us deciding what we want in life, we believe that it's a different process.
I know, it's weird, isn't it?
It's weird, but it's understandable.
Yeah.
We don't come into the world with these beliefs. These beliefs are passed on from one generation to the next. We inherit particular characteristics. But for me, the more we start to understand that everything is connected, and from a spiritual perspective, I've thought energy is like any other energy. If you get your thinking on the same level as the things you want to desire, then what will happen is that you will start to feel, and the one word you said there when you were doing the 10-year vision with these people within business, is that they start to feel emotionally connected to this thing they see. So many of us, we use our imagination every day, and we're very creative, but we usually think about the wrong things. So when we think about debt, when we think about ill health, when we think about being overweight, when we think about being not fit, when we think about, this is what we attract into our life.
Yeah.
So we just shift the perspective, change the picture in your mind, get emotionally involved in it, do it every day, do it relentlessly, and watch what happens. And here's the thing, you've done it before in your life, you can do it again. For trivial things, that person you fancied at that disco, you were determined to get that person, that dress at the weekend, that holiday, that house. We've all manifested things in our life, but we've never given it the label of actually spiritually accepting something into your life. And we think it's lucky, or we think it's no such thing. Yeah. Everything happens for a reason. As Ralph Waldo Emerson says, the law of cause and effect is a law of laws. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
There is. And that connection again. So, I'm an atheist, but I have a really good friend who's a born again Christian. So when we have a conversation, she talks about God, I talk about energy. And she talks about, Jesus Christ, and I'll talk about energy and the universal energy and how that runs through us. And she talks about the love of Jesus running through everybody. So it's the same thing. It's just a slightly different label for things, in my opinion. I know other people will think differently. But it's that connection. I think when you realize that everything is connected, and that your level of vibration, if you like, energy, because everybody understands mood, don't they? Everybody understands when you're in a good mood, a bad mood, a happy mood, and a relaxed mood. But the minute you say, look, your energy will vibrate at different levels, depending on, in NLP, we call it state. Yes. And to get in an optimal state for yourself means that you relax, you engage more with the world around you, you see more, hear more, and feel more, which means you're open to more opportunities. And as you rightly say, if you have that direction of travel, then you can't help but succeed. It's impossible not to succeed.
Absolutely. And that's something, I was laughing when you said that there, mood. And it's something we're all aware of, we can all
Yeah.
feel, we can all see, we can all hear.
Yeah.
And I heard a wonderful phrase used recently, because we'll talk about mindset,
Uh-huh.
but do we talk about mood set?
Yeah.
Mood set, you can feel the mood set when you go into any organisation, into a restaurant, into a building, into a house when you come back in. And essentially the mood is the level of frequency that everybody's feeling, that our intuition picks up on. So the work of Erin Nightingale talks about attitude being the magic word, attitude being a composite of thoughts, feelings, and actions, but also talks about moods. And Bob's very much about the thoughts makes you feel and the feelings makes you act, but your mood as well. The kind of mood we talk about somebody could be referred to as somebody's attitude. And the more we start to understand is how we feel is a level we're on, whether that's love, whether it's anger, frustration, hatred, it's all a different level of frequency. And we will attract those things on that frequency. We know when we're having a bad day. We've slept in, we get in our car, we've dropped our car keys, I've ripped my coat, I'm at the red light, I can't get a parking space. All these things follow on. Where the times we were calm, we've got very good routines, we're not rushing about, we're starting off the day with listening, reading, watching things, we're exercising, we're drinking, we're hydrated, we're giving our body everything it needs physically, emotionally, mentally, and when we're calm, everything seems to go the way it's meant to go. And it gives us a really, a gentle reminder, we're in charge and responsible for our moods. So sometimes there's a lot of different external things that can affect that, but the more we become strong, we can respond to these and live from the inside out rather than live from the outside in. And that takes real strength.
And practice.
Yes.
And practice. So you can't just read a book, you can't just attend one seminar. It takes practice. My family thought I was insane because I recorded my big vision parts of it on my phone and I used to play it whilst cleaning my teeth. I wrote it out every night in my diary and I stood on the top of the hill when I walked the dog, pointing to the hill because it's up there, every morning and said my vision out loud. And I did it for about 6 months. And my family were like, you've finally lost the plot, Rebecca. That's there's no hope. But that meant that I started building TriCrest because it fits with my big vision, and I needed a vehicle to get there, and it's the perfect vehicle, and I'm really enjoying it, and I'm having a blast on the way. So yeah, I have to thank Bob Proctor for that. So where are you taking your business, Jamie?
Well, the business has been evolving since lockdown. Business is very much in person again after being online for so long. Love being in the room, love feeling people's energy, love people being open and honest, and really challenging. I love a challenge. I love people saying, yeah, but, yeah, but, yeah, but. And,
Yeah.
I think we need to create safer spaces to discuss and explore and debate, what is this material? And I think over the past 3 years, I feel people are becoming a lot more human. They're kind of really to reconnect with themselves. And I think there's been a tidal shift to say, maybe I need to start looking at how I develop myself. And maybe that is about me changing internally in order for my results to change externally. And that's where we need to create. So I'm aiming to create safer zones to talk about this woo, to articulate it in different contexts. So from a business perspective, whether it's in the oil and gas sector, whether it's in the web development sector, whether it's in the sports sector, whether it's just wherever it may be, what does it actually mean for every single industry and sector? From the individuals, what are the particular gaps? What are their needs? So for me, I'm being very fluid, being very, I know exactly what this can do to help individuals and businesses grow or maintain and sustain or develop whatever it is they need. And I think people are ready for it. So in terms of where I'm going, I've got my coaching program or something. I will never ever stop. That is what I love doing. 6 a.m, 3 mornings a week. I'm with my clients, talking woo, being very comfortable. We share successes, we share vulnerabilities, we share challenges. We're together, a community. It's the best thing ever, the most rewarding thing. And then that impacts on their businesses, their families, their communities, etc. From an in-person business perspective, it's really having courage now to share this with as many people as possible. So really helping individuals and organisations to, it's okay to want more. That's not being greedy. You know, it's not being, having to just settle for what you've got right now. It's helping these people who are shining lights for others through really difficult and challenging times, that you don't need to settle. You can really still create the life that you deserve, regardless of the challenges that society and the economy and everything else that people perceive could be barriers. So the future for me, I'm very excited because I've got goals, I've got a vision, and I'm enjoying the journey on the way.
And I think that's the most important thing, isn't it? That you enjoy it every day. And like you said, there are days where you might have a bit of a, but as long as fundamentally 80% of the time you're enjoying it and you're having fun, you're on the right track, definitely.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. If your business had a personality or a character, Jamie, who would it be, or how would you describe it?
Nanny McPhee. I look at that and it's people come and they think, I don't need this, I'm fine. Yeah. To the point it's like, oh my God, I need this in my life all the time now. But I'm like, you're ready to go. Fly your wings and go yourself.
Yeah, I love. Do you know what FINE stands for?
Go for it.
Fucked up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional.
Oh, I might rephrase that. You're not fine. You're ready. You're ready.
Yeah, you're ready. You're ready. Because if you're telling me you're fine, I know for a fact you're not.
Yes. I'll remember that.
Yeah, do. I'll make you laugh. Brilliant. That's amazing. Thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it, Jamie. And please carry on with the good work in schools, because to set young people off on that path is just it's brilliant. Yeah, carry on.
Thank you so much, and thank you for inviting me on. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Pleasure, no problem.
The Entrepreneurial Journey Podcast. We're talking business and building a culture that's kick-ass, where we make it happen. Grab your seat, let's have